Hello, welcome to Fantastic Books and where to find them. So things are a little different since my last video. Background has changed, just had a bit of a move around. Hair has changed, that's probably a given really with me. My book taste however has not changed, and so I'm super excited to talk about Aurora Rising today. Aurora Rising is the first in the Aurora cycle, and it's by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Obviously this may sound super familiar if you have read or loved the Illuminae Files books. That's Illuminae, Gemini and Obsidio, as these two authors co-authored those books. Now Aurora Rising is in space, but it's not in the same setting or world as the Illuminae Files. They are completely separate. If you follow my blog, you will probably know that I have already put out a review for Aurora Rising, and that was completely spoiler free. As has kind of become tradition, I will keep everything on my blog spoiler free, but today I want to talk spoilers, so making a booktube video. So that's why I've waited till today when Aurora Rising is now out to film this review, and it's probably going to be a day or two while I edit it before it actually comes out, and hopefully at this point some people would have had a chance to read it. I will say I've already read the UK ARC at the moment. I have the Illumina Crate edition and the Good Choice Reads edition coming so that I get Memento, which is a pre-order incentive, which if you heard about the book, you've probably heard of that already, and that's an Illuminae Files related thing. So I'm not going to talk about it today because I don't want to think about it because I have to wait for it. So at this point I don't know if there are any changes or big changes between the ARC and the actual book. Feel free to let me know in the comments if that's the case. I am going to have a reread when my special editions turn up anyway, but just bear that in mind, that's all. So a quick breakdown if you don't already know, but Aurora Rising is set in 2380 and is most centered around a group of graduating cadets from the Aurora Legion Academy. The Aurora Legion is kind of like an intergalactic peacekeeping society. Among their members you have Terrans, which are human, Betroscans and Sildrathi. I'm going to pronounce all of these names wrong, I'm really sorry. So both those other species are different kinds of humanoid aliens. I won't go into them too much, but Betroscans live underground and, well, normally, so as above ground they have to wear dark contacts and they have really pale skin, and Sildrathi are basically described as hot space elves. I will already say actually that I did really like the look into the background we got on these two species and how their cultures are different, how they've kind of got around not having to explain too much of the Betroscan family situation because it's that complicated. They're like, yeah, it's just so complicated, humans are not going to understand it. Same goes for the Sildrathi. They have their own customs, and as somebody who plays a lot of D&D and likes to see the customs and ways that these different races interact and see each other, I found this super interesting, especially because there's a whole civil war going on with Sildrathi, and you know, the Terrans and the Betroscans are all trying to keep out of it. Yeah, so I assume we're going to have maybe more backstory for those characters a bit later as well, which will include a little bit more lore, as it were, from those species. So this story follows one squad in particular. We have Tyler Jones, who is a Terran, and he is basically the, you know, #1 student at the academy. He can basically have the pick of anyone he wants for his squad, but he misses the draft where he gets to choose. So he just kind of gets lumbered with whatever's left, and unfortunately at the time he kind of thinks whatever's left is basically garbage. You have the sociopath who likes to shoot her bunkmates. You have a gearhead who irradiated a lab to get out of one of his exams, and their tank, which is a Sildrathi. He has some anger management issues, but the main problem being is his cabal. So he has a tattoo on top of his head which sort of denotes which area of his race he's from, and he is a war breed, and basically the bad guys in the civil war for Sildrathi are all war breed, and this main guy, or mostly war breed, and the main bad guy, which is I think Starkiller, sounds like a Transformer. No, that's Starscream. Maybe that's a Star Wars character. I might Google that. Look. Anyway, so this bad guy is part of the same cabal as him, and so because of that no one really wants to hang out with him, I guess. And then we also have Tyler's twin sister Scarlet and their best friend Kat. Full name Catherine, other nickname is Zero because she missed 0 of her targets in her flying exam. So yeah, that's technically Squad 312. We have one more member, and that is Aurora G. Lynn O'Malley. I do absolutely love her name. I'm just really bad at remembering names. So Aurora is the reason that Tyler missed the draft. He was rescuing her. He found a derelict ship full of cryopods where basically everyone was dead, apart from Aurora. Because he saved Aurora, he was late for the draft. If you've read this, you'll know anyway. So the squad go on their first mission, which seems really crappy because it's just like a delivery. It turns out Aurora's stowed away. And I'm not going to go too much into it because although this is a spoiler okay thing, I don't want to go over the entire plot. I have said about this already in my spoiler-free review, but I was super apprehensive to read this. I love sci-fi books, and the Illumina Files books are my favourites. So I was kind of in two minds. I was like, it had only been semi-recently announced that they definitely were not in the same universe as Illumina. And I was worried that I wouldn't enjoy it because it wasn't Illumina, and then I was worried that maybe it would be too much like Illumina and it would feel like they were just trying to copy that. But actually it does feel like its own separate entity, which I really, really like. Whereas Illumina was that kind of different format, Aurora Rising is pretty much just a normal novel. So I think that might change some people's opinions on it. But I know there also were people who didn't read the Illumina Files because they didn't like that format, so maybe this is more for them, which is nice. Aurora Rising has 7 different point of views, so that's one for every member of Squad 312 and Aurora herself. Usually this would be a big problem for me. I'm not very good with multiple POVs, especially if it's more than sort of 2 or 3. I found Smoke Thieves a little confusing, for example, because there were so many points of view in it. But I love that in this there are really distinct voices for each character, the way they refer to things, just even the way they think. Having these separate point of views and having them for each character does really help to make you feel close to them. You're not just going through the things that they're going through by seeing what they're doing, you're also kind of experiencing that from their point of view. Even if something isn't particularly just to do with them and they're watching something else happen, you're seeing the way they react to it. And that's probably my favourite thing about this book. The characters are fantastic. The plot, I think, could have... wasn't the most amazing, mind-blowing plot I've ever read in the entire world, but because the characters are so good, that I think really makes up for it. And I think that attachment to those characters really comes from these points of view. Obviously Zila, we don't get loads of stuff from her because most of her POVs are really, really short, which I kind of liked in a way as well, because that felt like Zila. She might not be someone who has like such an internal monologue that she's like cataloguing everything and going through everything that's happening and reacting to it. She's just very in the moment, I think. I'm going to mention Mass Effect a couple of times because of course I am, but this really reminds me of the way that you feel about the characters in Mass Effect. You do their loyalty missions and you become really close to them. Well, I did anyway, and this is the same kind of connection, I feel, in a very similar way that I do the Mass Effect characters, which if you know me at all, you know that I would basically die for them all. I like that I have come away and I know these separate characters, I know their flaws, their backgrounds, their habits, and that I can pick up which is which quite easily, and I feel that's something that is very rarely achieved. I don't know if it's because there's 2 different authors writing it, and that means that there's a lot more literally individual voices because of the fact there's 2 separate people writing it. But whatever they did, I loved it. So I haven't actually made any notes, I'm just kind of winging this. I'm just going to go through, I want to talk about all the characters and maybe address some different things I want to talk about as I go through the different bits for the characters, if that makes sense. Yay for no structure! So first up we have Tyler. Obviously he's the alpha, he's all-round golden boy. I feel like I maybe relate to him the most, which is really weird. I am not a goody... Well, I was going to say I'm not a goody two-shoes, but I think at heart I kind of am. I was very much him at school. I wasn't the smartest person though, but I was very much sticking to the rules, mostly. And like him, when he has to do something that doesn't adhere to his creed or the rules that he knows are there, and they're there for a reason, rules are there for a reason, don't get me wrong, you really see how that affects him, and that was a really familiar feeling. And I love that the more he has to break these rules, the more, and he's just like, I have to have faith. This guy I trust, who has looked after me, basically like a son almost, he has told me to believe, so I'm going to believe. So he has a really strong belief in, I think maybe it's the authority or the fact that he just trusts this person. And he then trusts Aurora, he trusts his team eventually. I mean, he trusts his sister, obviously, because they're twins. But seeing him build up that trust to rely on it a bit more as time goes on was really rewarding. And I really liked the way his character changed and adapted to the situations they were going through. Scarlett Jones, who is the face of Squad 312, is an absolute queen, and I love her. She is sassy, and she really holds that team together. Like, really, I think without her, they probably wouldn't have got, there wouldn't have been a chance, I don't think. I don't think the team would have gelled in any coherent way. She kind of was a bridge for everyone, which I really liked. That she was an important character and intrinsic to the plot, and without having to be like the chosen one or an amazing fighter. And I usually really like ladies with swords, and anyone who can kick butt like that. But she was very different, and I really liked that, and she's awesome. I love Scarlett. So Zila, I've already talked about her briefly with the whole POV thing. Again, really good character development. I loved we saw her change as she became more comfortable with the crew. I love that she's smart as hell. And I don't know why, it's a really tiny little detail, but I love that she wears like giant novelty earrings with pizzas in. That kind of tickled me a little bit. I feel because that's kind of like another quirk to her, which is really cute, and I hope we do find out more about that. I'm really worried about her backstory, because it does sound like it's, some horrible things have happened to her, and that maybe has made her become the way she is. I think one of my favourite lines actually is a Zila line, and that is some of the lines of all the I don't fit in many places, but I feel like I fit here the most. I know that's not the exact quote, but basically that she knows she doesn't fit in, but she feels like she can perhaps, or that she's starting to fit in this squad. And that was some really nice character development as well. Next up is Finian de Karen Dissel, who is a Bextra scan, and I absolutely love him. I feel like he might be my sarcastic spirit animal. He is bi/pansexual. I mean, I assume that everyone is pansexual until proven otherwise. But you actively see him crushing on male and female characters, which is brilliant. Another interesting thing about Finn is that he wears an exosuit to help with his mobility. It is something he has had to deal with from a young age, and the way his family have treated him because of it has been horrible, unfortunately. Obviously, Betroscan may have a different view on everything, but from our point of view, being sent away is really, is really crappy. But I love that the crew doesn't ever try and, fix him. Scarlett offers him help when his exosuit gets damaged, but she does it in, I think, a respectful way. I also love that he has realistic limits as well. So when his suit does get busted up and when he does do too much, he's worn out and he has trouble with it. And I feel like that's, everyone struggles and that's okay. And I feel that that kind of really hits that nail on the head. I'm hoping it didn't seem like, oh no, he can't do this because, he's disabled. When I feel like it's really more of, it's okay to have limits. It's okay to ask for help because, everyone needs that at some point, disabled or not. He also flirts with basically anything that moves, and I love that. Next up we have Catherine Brannock, also known as Cat or Zero, and we saw the pictures beforehand, and I thought, oh, I'm going to really love her. She has that awesome purple foam mohawk thing, and all those tattoos, and actually she was my least favourite character. She drove me nuts. She just whines about Tyler, and I know it's, I do kind of like the contrast, whereas you do find otherwise that I was kind of glad that she wasn't too much of like, oh my god, she's this big hard tomboy who doesn't have any feelings. She likes kicking people in the nuts. And there's a side to that, obviously, because, that does happen as well. But she also does have this, she's sad. She's so in love with Tyler. And it makes her sad because she's basically nursing a broken heart. That, they had a thing together for one night and Tyler the next day was actually like, oh, maybe not, this isn't a good idea. I do love that she did have this softer side to her, even if it was really sad. And obviously, again, remember, there are spoilers, so I'm going to talk about the fact that she dies. Well, I say dies, she gets plantified. Which, I mean, as soon as her suit ripped, that was kind of obvious, I guess. And at that point, I had only just kind of started to like her character, really. As soon as I found out she hadn't betrayed the group, because I thought she was kind of annoying, and then when I thought she betrayed them, I was really, really annoyed. It's a polite word for that. And then when I found out that actually she hadn't, she'd gone back and said, right, these guys have approached me and they want to set you up. And she kind of went along with that. That really made me respect her a lot more. And then, yeah, we then lose her, and it's really sad. I do feel like maybe it was dragged on for a little bit. I don't know why they even thought they could save her. That was kind of a bit long. They were like, oh no, we're going to take her with us, we're going to take her with us. She'll be fine. And I just don't feel like... And as soon as her suit was open and she got spores, and I was like, that's it, she's a goner. And I know obviously it's different when it's your friends. You know, I would like to think I wouldn't give up on my friends that easy. Yeah, that did make me sad. I mean, other stuff, the situation at that point did make me a little sad. Obviously Aurora seeing her father. I think I figured that out about 2 seconds before Princeps took his helmet off, and I was like, oh god, that's going to be her dad. It's the only person we've not seen who should be on the colony, and she would have seen him by now otherwise. And that was heartbreaking. As soon as she says the words daddy, or thinks the words daddy, that really, really got me. And I did cry and have to put the book down for a little bit. I guess this is a good point to then slide over to Aurora. I've kind of steamrolled over Catherine. Aurora wasn't my least favourite, obviously that was Kat, but she did take a lot longer to warm up to than the rest of the crew. I think because she had trouble finding herself, so we had trouble finding her, and I think if that's on purpose, that's a really, really well done. I liked that we got a lot of information through from where she was learning things, and that was done really well and organically. Yeah, it just took me a little while to click with her. The moment that she realises how to use her powers and things, and what was happening, and she sort of became a lot more singular, if that makes sense. At that point I was, yeah, this is awesome, and that really changed it for me, I think. I guess maybe because it's hard to imagine what she's been through, and that's very hard to put yourself in that position. Whereas with the other characters, although it's very hard to put yourself in the exact same positions as them, it's a lot more parallel, I think. I mean, I can't even imagine waking up over 200 years later and everyone I know and loved or hated they're all dead. Everyone's dead. And yeah, I think that, and when they didn't really know where they were going, that kind of made me feel a bit off kilter as well. So I think just the way I see things, I very much like things to have a direction. And when she didn't really have a direction, and when the squad didn't have a direction, that made me feel supremely uncomfortable. And that will bring me round to Callus Gilraith. Wraith? To Cal. We're just going to call him Cal, it's much easier. Cal is the tank of the squad, so he's the fighter, and he is a Sildrathi, so he's a hot space elf. I do love actually that Aurora will call him different elf names. He calls him, from Lord of the Rings, so he's been called Legolas and Elrond, and everyone else kind of calls him Pixie Boy. I thought this is kind of a bit on brand for me, but he's angsty, he's hot, he's broody, he likes to fight. He's somehow utterly swoon-worthy and angry and hostile, but is also the absolute sweetest being in the entire universe. Obviously the main thing with Cal, I like that he's, kind of stoic. But then again, he opens up just like the rest of the team. I do love the fact that him and Tyler kiss, and Cal doesn't really know what to make of it in a strange way, and I don't know, I thought it was a really good scene, and they kind of had like a nice little bromance going on. So I do quite like a lot of the interactions between those two. And not just because of the kiss, I mean, that was hilarious and I liked it. But even beyond that, they have like a nice little thing going on. So we'll talk about the romance a little bit, because I couldn't really elaborate on it too much in my blog, because obviously spoilers, but Cal feels the pull towards Aurora, and I did kind of have, and I like Twilight, but I did have some Twilight flashbacks with the imprinting and all that, but I think it's probably less creepy because obviously she's not a child, and I don't know how that works with Sildrathi if they have that, but I'm quite happy not thinking about it. A lot of people did find this romance lackluster, I think. I personally really enjoyed it. I liked the fact that we got this angsty, he feels this pull, but he denies it because she's a human, and not in like a, oh god, she's human kind of way, but like she won't understand. And although he's obviously very wrong, and as Aurora points out, that's up to her to make that decision, I do like that he tries. He tries not to put this pressure on her. I think I'd have probably liked it a bit more if he hadn't completely ignored her, as it were, for a bit. I kind of get it. That's the whole hot guy ignores the person he likes because reasons. Extra angst. You can never have too much angst, I guess. But I do love that it culminates in, I mean, obviously we have the first bit where he tells her about it and she's in shock, obviously. And he doesn't push it, he just says, this is how it is. It's okay, I'm gonna leave. After this is all through, I'm gonna leave and go somewhere else and it'll all be okay, you know, there's no pressure there. And then I love the fact that Aurora's like, excuse me, this is obviously later on when she had time to process it, excuse me, I can make my own decisions, you should have let me decide for myself. And that conversation is really sweet. I like that a lot. And he's like, yeah, you know, you're right, I'm sorry. He apologises as much as Cal can, I think. And I put the book down afterwards and made a soppy noise because it was so cute. And obviously I'm not a great romance lover. In books, I like a little bit of it, and if it's in the right way, and this ticked my boxes apparently. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the plot. I'm going to try and wrap it up now because I've been talking a while. So as I said before, I didn't like when there wasn't too much direction. I feel like the first half was a lot slower paced, and maybe it felt like a different book at times. It felt very, reminded me of the beginning of Skyward, or the middle of Skyward, when they're at the school and they're training. Which is fine. When they find out that Aurora's stowed away, that's when it starts to get more interesting. We start to find out a lot of the, the fact that the Terran Defence Force, or at least the GIA, has been infiltrated by these aliens, or alien species, race, plant thing. Finding these dead GIA agents, and we've got like flowers for eyes. That sounds terrifying. Apparently Annihilation, I've heard, is a really good film to see if you like that kind of thing. I've not seen it yet, but it's got Oscar Isaac in it, so I will see it eventually. I got some, and I haven't finished the Six of Crows yet, so this is probably a really bad analogy, but it did kind of remind me of the whole heist situation in Six of Crows when they break onto that ship on the World ship. World ship reminds me of Valerian as well. There's a lot of different things that reminded me of, this seems like Mass Effect, this seems like this, and this seems like Valerian, and yeah. And that's fine, in my head the World ship was kind of basically like a Mos Eisley kind of thing going on, which I kind of liked. But yeah, I really liked, I would have liked more heist stuff and less wandering around in space arguing about whether or not we're going to turn Aurora in or not. Don't get me wrong, I think we definitely needed that, but I'd have liked more setting up with the heist. I was just going to say the technology is really good and it doesn't get confusing at all, but I do feel like one set of bombs being able to screw up the world gravity for this entire ship, which is basically the size of a small moon, feels a little bit unrealistic. I feel like they would have backup generators and I feel like they would have needed more than one bomb. I don't know. That was like the only technology thing that really bugged me, and I'm probably wrong. Let me think, what else was there? Magnellian, I think I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. The Uniglass, which is basically, I imagine it being like a tablet just made out of glass that Aurora has that gives her extra information. And basically they use it to do a lot of stuff, all of them do. But hers is called Magnellian, and he kind of is a bit sarky and pipes up occasionally. I really liked him, and I think that's just a sign of the fact that I really like AI, basically, even though he's not really an AI, I guess. And I would like maybe for him to accidentally be sentient, but then I think that's just me getting Hopeful Aiden vibes. Oh, there was the fact that Finian has a big crush on Scarlet, and I think there were some people who weren't too happy about the fact that this bi character was crushing on someone of the opposite sex instead of when they could have had a same-sex relationship. I was like, that's not how bisexuality or pansexuality, whatever it is, that's not how that works. As someone who is pansexual and married to a cis male, I kind of liked that. I liked that, yeah, this guy is bi, he likes both, but, at the moment he's crushing on this particular girl. And I don't think we see that enough. There's obviously a lot of straight relationships and things, a lot of cis male and female relationships, and obviously I love to see same-sex relationships and things, and I'm glad that we're getting a lot more of it. I also do like that kind of feels like closer representation to myself. And although obviously I'm not the only sexuality out there and my situation isn't the only situation, it's from a personal point, for me that's nice to see. And it's Finn, he basically wants to hump everything anyway. Alright, I think I've spoken for more than long enough. Hope you guys have enjoyed this talk. As this is a spoilery video, feel free to whack whatever you want in the comments, and we can chat about it, or my social medias are down there as well, like my Twitter, my Instagram. Feel free to send me messages, and I will more than happily chat your ears off about Aurora Rising. So thank you, and until next time, goodbye! Oh, look at those beans. Sorry, Judy's being cute.